everyone, I'm Mine, and this is set number 75362, Ahsoka Tano's T-6 Jedi Shuttle from the LEGO Star Wars theme. This set contains 601 pieces, 4 minifigures, and retails for $79.99 in the US, as well as $74.99 in most places in Europe. This set was sent to me for review by the LEGO Group through the LEGO Master Network, but all opinions expressed in this video are my own. So here's Ahsoka's shuttle, and this is a very interesting ship. This is one of those ships where the cockpit's able to be turned, so it could fly forward like this, or you could turn it like this and have it fly upwards. And we've gotten a few sets like this before, and they're always somewhat of a mixed bag, and that's definitely the case once again with this. So let's look at this up closer and see the positives and the negatives. Starting with the positives, I mean, I think the wings on the top definitely look quite good. Maybe a bit generic in terms of color scheme, but that's no fault of LEGO, that's just the design of the vehicle in universe. But I feel like this is a good transition from the actual brick built parts into the sticker right here. And there are a few stickers used in this build, but they're not like overbearing, right? I feel like it's just the right amount. But no, I mean, it's a great shape to this entire thing, incredibly sleek. And I think it's perfect how it ends off on these little points right here. At the very front, we have two stud shooters, which are meant to shoot out transgreen studs, and forgive me, but I misplaced the transgreen studs. So instead, I'm going to demonstrate by shooting out this scarab from the Marvel minifigure series 2, which of course does not come in this set. Anyway, if you pretend that's a standard LEGO stud, you push down and it shoots out. And you can see that there's one of those on each side of the cockpit. The actual cockpit itself is a printed part, which is nice to see. However, mine unfortunately came like all beat up. You can see these little scratch marks on it. That happens every now and then with large transclear pieces in LEGO, but it's always very disappointing, because it does hurt the overall look. But of course, that's inconsistent. If you guys get this set, that may be the case for you, that may not be the case for you. But regardless, I think the printing's pretty solid, and it's a lot better than it would have been if it was a sticker. But yeah, of course, this part hinges open, and you get access into the interior. And inside of there, there's a printed console piece to control the ship. That's not new for this set, it's a very common one, but it does actually fit in with the color scheme here. Then there's a little slot to set a minifigure's legs. So here's how it looks to set Ahsoka down in there. Then of course you just close the cockpit up around her. There is a little bit of extra room in there, so if you want to put her accessories in there with her while she's controlling the ship, that is an option you have. Obviously, it doesn't look the best with the lightsabers around her neck, but I know when I was a kid I would often lose my accessories if I didn't have them with the minifigure. So this is definitely something I would have done, so it always makes me happy to say that it's an option, even if it doesn't make the most sense in universe. But then moving back behind the cockpit, you can see there's this large gear piece right here, and that's of course what allows the wings to spin, and we'll be taking a look at that functionality in just a moment. But first I want to take a look at this back section. There's like this giant fin coming off the back, and I actually quite like the shape of that. It's like very subtle where it ends off, it's not like super exaggerated, but I think it looks nice. And there's like a bit of greebling beneath it too to make it feel very mechanical, and we've got a sticker right here to transition from the dark red into the light gray. I think this entire section's very pretty the way it's done, and you can see that's pretty much exactly the same on the other side. However, this little bit right here is actually paneling that can be opened up, and inside this is where accessories can be stored. So you can see by default in here you have this little box with a wrench on the side, and that can be removed and given to one of the minifigures if you want. But then this is also a second place to store Ahsoka's lightsabers, which is definitely the better of the two options, but I just want to let you all know that the other one existed. But yeah, there's everything put back in, and of course I can close this back up, and then if we come around to the other side, opening the other one up, you can see once again there's storage in here, and this time it's for Sabine Wren's accessories, who's of course one of the minifigures in this set. We'll take a closer look at these when we look at the minifigures, but you can see her helmets in here, as well as two of these little blasters. And then finally out the back we have these 3 big exhausts and 2 smaller ones, and that's of course what could just propel the ship through space. Those look solid. I mean, the blue as the energy source works really well. No complaints from me there. But now let's transform this thing. Now this is very easy to do. You saw the wings were constantly shaking in this review, and that's because you literally just have to turn it like this. Now the wings are vertical with the cockpit, and it gives it a very different look. However, it still looks super cool. This exposes a few more different parts of the ship. This looks to be a stickered exhaust piece right here, and you can see a bit more of the texturing around the side of the ship. The underside too, they took the care to make sure it looked nice, which I do very much appreciate. And you can see it's similar to the top, though obviously a little bit different because it's built down lower. And of course it's topped off with anti-studs here, which I think is perfectly fine. However, now let's look at the absolute worst part of this vehicle, and that's if we turn this around. Because of course, now that it's flying like this is just one side of the vehicle. The other side of the vehicle is still like equally valid. It's no longer the underneath part, right? So I would have hoped they took the care to make both sides look good, but if we turn this over, eesh. That's right, if you want to display this thing flying towards the right, this is what it looks like. I don't think I have to say that this looks terrible, like really, really bad. And now I get it, like LEGO's on a limited budget and turning around studs is difficult, so maybe they can't make both sides look equally as good. But man, they could have at least tried to do something. If they managed to do this pattern but with anti-studs, I'd be perfectly happy with that. But it kind of just feels like they gave up and were like, nope, that's not happening, we're not even trying it. And that really, really hurts the set in my opinion, because you either have to always display it this way, or display it landed on the ground. So while the play feature of the set is definitely fun, this is a huge disappointment. It really hurts just the overall set in my opinion. And then while we're down here, let's take a look at the landing gear. You can see it's underneath this part right here. You can just flip it out, and that just allows it to stand up without wobbling. Now because these wings are so heavy, if you're constantly moving this build around while it's on the ground like this, the landing gear will fall out of place. However, if you're just setting it down for display, it's perfectly sturdy. Like, I've had no issues with it. So overall, I think this build is really solid, except for that underside. However, I think that underside is still a pretty big deal. So I don't know. I'll talk about all of that a little bit more at the end of this video, So, for now, let's take a look at the minifigures that come in this set. Here are the first two minifigures in this set. We of course have Ahsoka Tano herself, as well as Sabine Wren. And this version of Ahsoka is actually pretty great. Starting off with her accessories, she of course comes with 2 lightsabers, but I believe this is the first set to officially include like her white lightsabers, just using trans clear pieces for the lightsaber blades. These pieces have existed in this color for a little bit now, but man, do they look really cool. And I'm so happy that we finally have them for her, because they fit her great. But the level of detail in this figure is pretty incredible as well. You can see she does have arm printing, and I really like the design of it. You can see she's got like a little bit of blue armor at her wrist, but then these wraps that come up towards her shoulders. And then her hands are actually gunmetal gray, which is a color that we don't see LEGO use for hands all too often. I know this specifically because of course I'm an Ninjago fan and Zane uses metallic silver hands, but I think metallic silver only came in one video minifigure ever, and metallic hands in general just aren't that common. Typically when a figure uses a lot of metallic parts, the hands are still a solid color. So getting the gunmetal gray here makes her feel extra special. The design on her torso and legs though is great as well. It is gunmetal gray, which ties in with both hands, but then she's got like a little bit of blue on each side. I do wish that blue was maybe a bit more prominent, because comparing it to her suit in the show, like yes there is that blue there, but it's a lot more prominent. Here I feel like it blends in with the gunmetal gray maybe a little bit too much. Very good transition from the torso into the legs though, feels incredibly smooth. And she does have shoe printing at the bottom, which is always nice to see. The piece for Ahsoka's Leku I believe is all new. It might be the one they used for Clone Wars for her back in the day, but it's smaller than her more modern one because that one's based off her animated appearance and this is based off her live action appearance, and in live action they're a bit smaller. I am a bit disappointed by these though, because this is actually a rubber piece, not a hard plastic. And I kind of thought LEGO was done with rubber pieces because they've been changing out a lot of their rubber pieces for hard plastic as of recent. And I mean in terms of looks it's no different, but the rubber just holds up a lot worse. So if this is a figure that you're planning on playing with, you gotta be careful with it, because you don't want that printing to rub off of the rubber. Face print though is pretty good. She's got like those vibrant blue eyes, and then a sort of neutral smile, and then she does have an alternate face where she's angry, which does make me very happy to see. She didn't fall into the trap of female LEGO minifigures just smiling on both sides. And there's how that looks with the head attachment on too. Back torso print, you can see she has a bit of her back exposed, and unfortunately that printing is not done super well. You can see the orange of her back right there doesn't really match the orange skin tone of her arms and of her face. That's very unfortunate to see, but it is something that's very common on LEGO figures nowadays, especially on dark pieces like the gunmetal gray. So I would have liked for it to be better, but at the very least it's around the back so it's not super obvious. But yeah, still definitely annoying. However, that's really my biggest criticism with the figure. The rest of it looks really fantastic and I'm very happy to get her here. Also, weirdly, I think she's exclusive to this set, even though there's 3 Ahsoka sets. This is the only set to actually come with Ahsoka herself. So she is nice to get in that sense. Next we have Sabine Wren, and I'm a bit mixed on this figure. Starting off with what I like, I think this new hair piece is really great for her. Obviously the piece itself's not new, it's existed for a while, but purple's an all new color for it, and that's just a really cool part to get. I like getting parts in fun colors that we don't normally get, and this is definitely unique, but it also fits her perfectly. Her face print's also really good too. I believe this is an all new face for this set, but you can see it's on this like new lighter skin tone which was introduced earlier last year. It's been used on like Din Djarin from The Mandalorian, but of course because it's so new we have very few faces in this skin tone, so it's always nice to get more. And I also think this fits the character really well. Again, she's got like a slight smirk, but it's not like overly exaggerated, feels quite realistic. They didn't go too cartoony with it, which makes me happy to see. And then she has an alternate face on the back where she's like a little bit annoyed. This I think though might just be, is this just May from Monkey Kid? No, that's different, but I feel like I recognize this expression from somewhere. Definitely feels reused from something else. Regardless though, I think it's fine. I think I would have preferred maybe a more intense expression, because she doesn't seem angry, she just seems like a little bit annoyed. But this is better than nothing, and I definitely prefer this over another smiling face. But then her torso and leg print I just feel like's alright. I feel like it doesn't pop enough, and I think that's in large part due to the lack of any arm printing here. Now I get it, not every LEGO Star Wars minifigure is going to be able to have arm printing, that's perfectly fine. But the thing is, she's in like Mandalorian armor, and we have Mandalorian minifigures in Boba Fett and Din Djarin from The Mandalorian, and both of them have like arm printing by default now. Every set they come with arm printing. So getting a character in Mandalorian armor without the full detail of a Mandalorian minifigure, it definitely feels a bit off. Especially because the dark brown is such a dark color, but her suit is kinda colorful. Like obviously there is the dark brown base, but she does have some colors in her armor. So comparing this to the real life equivalent, the figure does feel a little bit dull. I do like the bits of orange and purple we get in the torso, and obviously the metallic silver looks nice, but I just wish the entire thing popped a bit more, and I feel like arm printing really would have added a lot. There's like the back torso print too. Again, I think that metallic silver looks great, and I love how prominent it is here on the back of the torso. But yeah, it definitely feels like something's missing. And then of course, as you saw earlier in this video, there's a little compartment in the actual ship to store extra accessories with this figure. So if you want to remove her lightsaber and her hair, you can replace that with her helmet as well as her blasters. And there's how that looks, and again, I think it's fine, but it still leaves a little bit to be desired. This like reddish orange color that they use on the helmet's too dull. I feel like that definitely should be more vibrant. Not like super vibrant, armored, but just a little bit more. However, I do like the sort of silver cheeks they gave the helmet. That's a very cool look. It's like subtle in the gunmetal gray, but it looks pretty perfect. And it's also a great representation of her helmet in universe. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of good aspects about this figure, but I also feel like it leaves a little bit to be desired. Not bad, but could be better. Here are the next and final two minifigures in the set, Huyang and Marrok. Huyang's definitely interesting in the way they did him. He's of course a droid, and typically droids are brick built, however this one's a minifigure. That's not completely unprecedented. Of course, we've had like C-3PO in the past, and he was a minifigure. But in universe, this guy's a bit more lanky, like you'd expect to see from like a battle droid. So I was a bit surprised to see that he was a minifigure. Now technically, he is a protocol droid just like C-3PO is, so it makes sense for him to be a minifigure, but I can't help but feel like the proportions are maybe a little bit off on this one. Another interesting thing is he has like this backpack back attachment. That is cool to get. I appreciate that that's here. You can see that's an all-new exclusive printed part for this set. However, I just don't really love the way it attaches. It's on like one of these neck brackets, and that's just kind of ugly to me. Comparing it to how it is in universe, that doesn't really seem like the best way to do it. So yeah, I kind of wish that was a bit better. However, the rest of this figure is pretty good. That's an amazing new molded head for him, and you can see it's printed all over too. The printing's really sharp, and I especially love the metallic gold on his eyes. Looks super, super cool. Torso's kind of similar to what we've come to expect from like C-3PO minifigures with like the exposed wiring at the belly. And then when we come down to the legs, you can see there's even a bit of paint chip with like this metallic silver down here on the toes. Turning him around and removing that back attachment, you can see more of those wires. So yeah, even though I feel like the proportions are a little bit odd, I think this figure's still fantastic. Would have changed how that back attachment connected, but that's really my only criticism with this figure. Very, very good one to get. And then Marrok has like this fairly standard Inquisitor design. All new exclusive molded helmet, and it seems very Knight inspired. He's got like one of these dual-bladed lightsabers with like the circular hilt in the center. That's a very cool part to get. Has of course come on other minifigures before, but still very nice to see. And then the entire minifigure is very gunmetal gray. You can see there's even a bit of printing on the armor, which is nice. And then there seems to be a bit of rusting on the outfit too. There's some dark orange used up here as well as in the legs. And then a few red lights as well. Around the back of the armor there's a clip where you can hold the lightsaber when it's not being held. That's something that I very much appreciate. It looks a little bit slow when the blades are out, but of course you can remove them to power off the lightsaber. And that's just amazing for storage. And then here's a full look of the minifigure with the torso and helmet removed. Again, you can see it's just sort of like rusted knight's armor, but with like a bit of a sci-fi twist on it. And then we just have a plain black head to hide the identity of this character. So honestly, another great one to get. I'm very happy with the overall minifigure selection in this set. And so, overall, what are my thoughts of this set? Well, one thing I haven't mentioned thus far is the price, and the price on this set is not good. That's most 2023 sets for you, but yeah, I was expecting 60, maybe 70 for this. 80 is very, very silly. The minifigures are pretty great, I'll give it that. And the build, if it was like a $60 ship, I think it would be fine. But yeah, if they're going to charge a premium price, they should give us a premium product. And with only 600 pieces for $80, the underside of the ship should not look like that. That is absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you're someone who just collects for display and you're only going to be showing one side of the ship, I mean, I guess it's fine for that purpose. But when they didn't even try to even make it look alright, I don't know. There's a reason they don't show the underside of this thing on any of the official promotional material. Even if you go on LEGO.com and like go to the 360 spin, they don't show it in its flying form, it's in its landed form. I think LEGO knew it didn't look good, and they were just hoping people wouldn't notice before buying. So the price and the underside are a letdown, but the minifigures are pretty good, and I do like the rest of the build, and the play feature is fun. It just looks really bad from one side. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!